was very uncomfortable with the current way the highway one sat, so.
We're talking about the salary increase for the highway, is that what you're talking about?
Not necessarily salaries per se, just for the budget as a whole. There was various increases in there, and, we have no revenue to support it, so.
Turn it on.
The fund balance will diminish at an alarming rate as presented.
I just never realized that there were.
Well, let's go ahead and tackle the highway department. Talk about that.
So that's in your highway tab in your budget notebook. And again, original budget 22-23, we're looking at 6.7 million in expenditures. This budget, we're looking at 8.5. And I can't speak intelligently about highway operation. I have no idea what he can get done with 6.7 versus 8.5. You may want him to run more at 8.5. But if so, where's the funding coming from? Because currently it is not supported. It's showing 2.5 in the red. And I know we're north of that now in the general fund, but the general fund is a lot larger fund with a lot more diverse revenues. This is a much smaller fund with a much smaller fund balance. It cannot sustain this, and I mean, I'm reasonably certain the comptroller's office would in fact reject this budget as it is. We're showing $368,000 as a fund balance ending.
In 21 and 22, total expenditures were 4.7.
Correct.
And 22, 23 went 6.7, and now we're looking at going to 8.5.
Well, yes, you read those correctly, but 21, 22, you're looking at actuals, and then you're comparing it to budgeted.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm sure 4.7 wasn't the budgeted for 21, 22.
Gotcha. But we're estimating 22, 23 at 6.4. It's
Yes.
still a significant increase year over year.
Absolutely. And so I would say, historically, what we saw turned in may not be what we see. And so if you budget up to 8.5 with no additional revenues, we're gonna be upside down and bleeding out very quickly.
So the question is, I mean, do we need to be the ones to go through and try to work on these line items, or can we just make a motion to send it back to the highway department and let them make the cuts where they need to?
In the past, sometimes the committee has done it themselves, and my feedback from the officials is they are not a fan of that. My feedback has been, if you want me to cut my budget, let me cut it, and then I'll cut it where I can best suit it. So when you try to chop at it, it generally kind of goes like this. You're chopping it with an axe when it should be a scalpel, because you really don't know what it is you're looking at on these lines. Whereas that person who manages it has a much more detailed background of what these lines mean.
What does his fund balance need to be healthy?
Last year we passed at 1.3. I would like to see it back closer to that, unless you and him discuss that you want him to be here, and then the revenues need to come up to catch up to it. But I would like to see revenues over expenditures not upside down like it is at 2.5, almost 2.6 million.
So can we ask him to readjust his budget so that his ending fund balance will come out at 1.3 million, and then let him do whatever he needs to do to get it there?
I think that's a reasonable request to make.
When you say fund balance, I think you're talking about his actual, or his deficit at 1.3. You're talking, is that what you're saying?
Well, they actually, they'll work out the same. If he shaves $1 million off, then his fund balance will be up to 1.3 as well. But yes, I was referencing expenditures versus revenues, but the number works in both places.
Gotcha.
And is there any, I know the state passed the rural road act. Are there any funds available for him with that?
I'm not up to date with that act.
Okay.
There very well may be though.
Yeah.
The state is pretty flush with money.
And one of the things that they did pass was something to do to help with rural roads.
I had always heard that when the state was passing out ARPA money for this, that, and the other, that the roads were going to be there at some point. We had the water ARPA money from the state. I'd always heard roads were coming, but I'm not familiar with anything that was passed yet.
what's the will of the committee? Do you, I mean, it's up to what you guys wanna do.
How much is this affected by this part where he's asked for the increases? Jeff, is that,
That's one of the issues with the absence of a scale is I can't answer that question. You have to answer that question. Because most of your other offices have a set employee count, and they come in front of you to increase their personnel. So we have X number of pieces, and I can track those pieces on a scale. We don't have that, so not only do I not know what he's offering as far as pay-wise, I also don't know how many pieces are on that.
so he says he needs 3 road crews, but we don't know how many people are on that road crew, is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know roughly they're in the ballpark of high 30s. In the summer, they have seasonal employees, so they might be up in the 40s, but no, I don't have a hard line on how many employees they have. Or I can tell you how many employees Mr. Lilly has, I can tell you how many employees, the mayor has, and so forth and so on.
He has 43 employees. That's what he shared with us when he came before us.
Yeah, I think in the winter that number is lower, because I think he adds seasonal for the summer, for mowing, things of that nature, but I think in the winter months, it's more around 37, 38, but I'm just trying to remember from certain reports I've seen.
My
This one
suggestion,
says 35.
my suggestion for the committee is to, send this budget back to the road superintendent and ask him to get his, estimated ending fund balance closer back to 1.3. That's my suggestion. If somebody wants to make that motion, you can, or we can start working on it.
So, one second.
All right, Mr. Gibson has made the motion to send the highway department's budget back with a request to get his estimated ending fund balance to 1.3 million. Do we make it that specific?
I would.
Okay. Mr. Gillum seconded that motion. It's now open for discussion. He may come back and say, I couldn't get it to 1.3, but, he may not be able to, I don't know. Mr. Ellis?
In his defense, we elected him to maintain the roads of the county, and if he needs this, then I don't think he would be asking for anything that he did not need to fulfill his job.
I agree with that. I think Danny's an honest guy, and he's probably giving us what he believes he needs, and he very well does that, but, we have to balance that with what we can afford.
I agree. I think Danny has made a very reasonable request, given that we're, if we had the funds to spend, I would approve it in a heartbeat. So, any further discussion? Sending the highway department budget back to, the road superintendent. Ms. Davis, will you call the roll, please?
Danny Ellis,
No.
John Gibson,
Yes.
Robbie Palmer.
Yes.
Joshua Gill.
Yes.
Tom Kern.
Yes.
Jason Roach.
Yes.
Nancy Barker. 6 yes, 1 no, motion carries.